going to talk today about some veterinary related topics that are very important to us.
Yep.
And it deals with the digital toll. And we're going to talk about some things that are happening in healthcare that you should know about.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about today is we're just going to talk about kind of the mental health crisis that's happening to veterinarians and a lot of healthcare professionals in general.
And stay to the end that we're going to read an actual negative comment that I got in my business. Dr. Johns has not read it before, but we're going to get her feedback about what she thinks and
Coming in blind, no idea what it says. So one of the crazy facts that we discovered was about 40% of veterinarians are affected by cyberbullying. Talk to us a little bit about cyberbullying, Carlos.
I've had some negative comments on my Google, and what happens is when you get negative comments on Google, you lose your ranking. So how Google works is the first two businesses you pay for them, so they're ads, and then the next three are based on your review. So once somebody gives you a bad review, you go down the list, and they say the best place. You know where the best place to hide a dead body? On the second page of the Google reviews. Nobody goes past
Nobody
the
goes
first
there.
page.
Yeah.
So these reviews really affect businesses. And what I would think is it true and is it fair?
Yep. Is it true and is it fair? Two questions you want to ask yourself whenever you're reading these online reviews about veterinarians or any other healthcare professional. And also people need to understand that these things that they write have significant impacts on veterinarians, including anxiety, depression, depersonalization, and just constantly feeling helplessness and distress. It's awful. It's a horrible feeling.
Not only vets, but healthcare professionals in general. We have to fight these battles handcuffed. Because, first of all, they say, well, if you retaliate, you're unprofessional. Right? And then you can't talk about the case because that information is privileged. You can't be like, your dog died because it had heartworm and you didn't give it heartworm prevention, right? That's unprofessional, and then that goes into that privileged information. So we can't really defend ourselves.
Nope, you're stuck basically just accepting it because of the HIPAA rules with patient-doctor privilege. And it stays with that even with animals, as silly as this might sound. And there's just so much that piles on these reviews with stacks of comments, just like hammering people who have never been to the clinic, don't know the doctor, don't know the situation, just piling it on, all supporting this one horrible comment, and it just breaks people down. It's awful.
I wonder what Alexander Hamilton would have done in his days.
Prepare for a duel, you scoundrel.
So next one is going to be a little bit about kind of the spectrum of fatigue, and there is basically we had to differentiate compassion fatigue, which is caring for animals, and empathy fatigue, which is the specific toll of relentless online public vitriol. So talk about that, Carlos.
I actually experienced this. I worked at a clinic for about 3 years. It was a low-income clinic. And in that low-income clinic, there was a lot of euthanasia, that animal. And I just didn't like that. I had to euthanize. If you have these negative experiences that you deal with death, and it takes a toll on just how you could deal with your emotions. And a lot of people, they deal with it different ways. Some of them become like zombies, and they become cynical. So have you noticed that? Like some of the older vets are very cynical and just shut down. They don't want to.
They just kind of box themselves out into their own reality. But and it's just constantly and this unceasing negativity that's fueling all of our professional burnout. Just constant negativity, constantly.
When I worked at that clinic, we worked with a lot of young veterinarians, and they came in very positive. They wanted to
life.
Full of life. They were so young.
Full of passion.
And after like 2-3 years of just dealing with all of they're very complicated cases.
Right.
You just saw them worn down, and it took a toll on them. and you have to have coping mechanisms to deal with it.
Yep.
Because it not just vets, but imagine people that have to deal with like human death or things of that nature.
Yep. We're all definitely meant for the professions that we are in, for sure, because I don't know if I could ever handle that. But also, there's a point that we have to bridge the gap between the pet owner's valid grief. We understand that you are grieving. That is a legitimate way to feel, but also the veterinarian's mental breaking point, because there's not a way that we can really cross that line for the general public and we can't even have a public debate because we're restricted in that way.
We want to validate the owner's grief.
Yeah.
Many times they're so sad, and sometimes they're dealing with feelings of guilt. Maybe they didn't do enough. And sometimes a vet deals with guilt too, because there could have been options that they couldn't have done because of finances, or maybe they could have gone to a specialist, but that wasn't an option.
Wasn't an option.
So once you deal with euthanasia and guilt, but like I said before, it deals with fairness, and is it true?
Yeah. Well, now we're going to talk a little bit about our cynical trap and defensive medicine. How a pervasive cynical outlook will lead to a loss of patient and owner individuality and our treatment approaches. Talk about that, Carlos.
I think it's like a range. It's like a scale. It goes from being very empathetic to being very cynical. And a lot of new grads, this is an interesting article that Dr. Williams put out, and it explained that a lot of new vets, they have a lot of fear, and they're over testing, overthinking. They're always trying to refer to a specialist, and choosing euthanasia, even when there's a chance.
Yeah.
So what the article recommended is that you should try to communicate. I mean, like, to say the animal is very sick and may die. These are the things I could do. If you go to the other clinic, that's what they could do. And if they can't go to the other clinic, you should at least try.
Yep, absolutely. We've gotten to the point that we're kind of practicing defensive medicine in order to avoid the possibility of having negative feedback, or having, that underlying feeling of, am I going to mess up? Is this in the best interest of the pet? Am I good enough to be able to do this? And that's a serious problem that a lot of new grads are worried about, because they kind of have that underlying feeling of like, am I going to get sued?
Yeah, there's definitely a fear. You fear, first of all, the client. What's the client gonna do? How are they gonna react? Then there's a problem that if they get a lawyer, are they gonna go to the veterinary board, and then the DBPR,
which controls our license.
So the vets, these new grads are in a lot of debt. They're like, if I lose my license and I have to deal with this debt, that you can't go into bankruptcy.
Yeah, the debt stays with you forever.
It's a lot of risk so that's why they're trying to.
They're just throwing every test in the world to make sure they're as possibly thorough as possible, even if they don't know the real reason behind that test. Sometimes they're just like, I got to do everything I can in my power, because then I feel like I have covered my own basis. Versus sometimes, just trying to think about the individual case and come up with the best treatment or a diagnostic plan that you can. And I get it. I have been there. I mean, very recently, and sometimes I think I'm still there.
You know where I found joy and really liked this profession again is when I started doing shelter medicine. In shelter medicine, these animals don't have owners, so sometimes I spay 20 animals and I treat 10 shelter animals. And I find that many of these animals do well, and you don't have to deal with that risk of just getting bad reviews and upsetting people.
Thinking you're going to be a people pleaser, pretty much. Yeah. All right, well, now we're going to discuss a little bit about understanding the digital threat. So sometimes we just have to learn that we're going to have to confront the reality of having these clients as, that are misanthropes, trolls, and just have these coordinated malicious review bombing campaigns. Like, there is nothing that we can do about it sometimes. We just have to embrace it, accept it, and be the best practitioner that we possibly can be.
I was reading about trolls. They're fascinating. It says a lot of them are sadists. And they enjoy causing pain on other people, and they want a reaction out of you. I was like, a lot of these people are just in pain.
Yep.
Or they have mental illness. Like, I've eaten in bad restaurants, and I just say to myself, I'm just not going to eat here anymore.
Just not going to eat here again.
I'm not going to, let me go home and just destroy this business.
Yep.
That has to have, like, a lot of sadness within you.
Yep. And just sometimes, we talked about bridging the gap earlier, and we're going to bring that back. Bridging the gap about acknowledging the owner's perspective of their grief and their right to feel upset and sad, but also versus us as veterinarians and our profession's drained professional reality. Like, it is draining. And we just have to find that balance, and people reading these crazy reviews have to understand both sides.
And have you noticed that most of the reviews is like, if I could give them 0 stars, that's what I was like. You gotta be more creative, right? Like, if I could give them 0 stars,
but you can't. Sorry, gotta be at least one. So
we're gonna talk about a bad review that I got.
Oh boy.
I want you all to know. I want to clarify. So, my business is called Heal Mobile Vets, and I started it when my son was born, and he's now going to high school. So, I started it in Miami because I needed to make supplemental income. I wasn't making enough money in my job. So, I built that business in Miami, and I had problems with a family business that was also vet. So that didn't go well. So I left Miami and I started the business again in Jacksonville. So look how many things have gone on. And then I remember one of my first house calls in Jacksonville. I went to this, it was like an African American lady. It was in St. Augustine. And she had 2 chihuahuas. And of course the chihuahuas trying to bite us. Mm-hmm. And I remember that she had a stove, and she was boiling water, and she threw the drumsticks in boiling water. And I was like, I didn't know you could boil chicken. Did you know you could boil chicken?
I wouldn't be my go-to choice, I guess, but sure.
but it was like that. When I started, I would take anything. I would go anywhere. I would do it for free because you're trying to get known. Mm-hmm. And right now, I have so much work that I could decide. I work or I don't work. And what I don't want is to work with people I don't like.
Yeah, no, straight up.
So sometimes people call me and they're like, can you come on this day and this time to do this? And I was like, no. And then they get upset and they give me bad reviews. But it's like, they have all the choices in all of Jacksonville to choose any veterinarian. I was like, I'm not obligated to take every client to do anything. There's
nope.
As you know, because Dr. Johns has been doing some routes with me with doing house calls. You only have about 8 hours, right? And you have to drive about 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't go to Clay County, you can't go to Jacksonville and St. Augustine. You'll spend that entire time driving. Right? Or if somebody calls you, hey, I'm over here and my dog got hit by a car. It's like, you can't drop everything. That will be like an ambulance.
Yeah.
No mobile veterinary business has been able to make an ambulance service.
Yep.
Because it would just be too expensive.
Yeah, it would be not worth the cost. It would be unfeasible and unfathomable with the cost. Would not be sustainable.
So what I don't understand is somebody calls me and I tell them, I cannot take your case. they get upset with me. I'm like, I'm not being rude, because they accuse me of being rude. I was
I
like,
literally
just can't.
Unfortunately,
I can't do that case.
can't today.
And stay tuned, because we're going to talk about the only negative review I've ever gotten. And it's not fair.
He's pretty butthurt.
It's true, but it's not fair.
In the context of things.
I haven't read it to Dr. John's, but
I'm waiting in suspense. Lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about reclaiming resilience and support in veterinary medicine. So we want all veterinarians and healthcare professionals to know, leverage your peers' support and share experiences with each other to help directly combat all of this professional isolation and professional negativity that we're dealing with. There are Facebook groups. I'm part of a multitude, 3, 4, 5. I read people's stories, and there's so many positive comments to just tell people you're not alone. We understand. I've had a similar experience, and it makes us feel sometimes so much better to know that random people throughout our country or the world are all supporting us in this small community that we have. And it's super important for your mental health.
The problem, many veterinarians, they tend to be introverted. So they get these problems and they hold it in. They don't tell anybody. And I think we're all dealing with the imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
We think we don't know enough. We're not good enough that we could do. So once that builds, if you don't have some way, some coping mechanism or some mental armor, you could get into trouble. You could get into deep waters.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of veterinarians get to that point because they don't want to ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We need to refocus our professional energy on the positive medical outcomes that happen with the so many cases that we see. For every negative outcome, there are 5 to 10 positive outcomes. Think about those. Remember those. Remember the people that cried in front of you because they helped your dog. I'll never forget, I was working one day and a dog came in that was in respiratory distress, and we were just a GP, and we didn't have an isolation oxygen cage, but he was small enough. I put him in a little box and I put him on oxygen all day. I was giving him every 2 hours all the medications he needed. I gave the owner a really realistic thing about this heart disease, but the next day I was off and the other associate took over, and I remember her telling me the following day, like, remember that client that you saw? Yesterday she said, that girl saved my dog's life. And just the way it made me feel was that all that work and all that stress was so worth it because that lady came and said, that girl saved my dog's life. Nothing like it. It feels amazing.
You should focus on the good. Because many times there's these people that rattle you with these negative comments that you remember more than
the good. And you got to remember the good.
But like we said, like they might be going through something, like that toxicity and all that problems. It's just maybe they're going through something.
Yeah. Always try to think of the two-sided story. Everything's got two sides. A lot of times these keyboard warriors, you're only seeing one side, and the veterinarian side or the healthcare professional are really limited on what we can do to tell our side.
I'm telling you, if we were back in the 1800s, Alexander Hamilton would find these trolls and just shoot them dead.
I think Carlos really wants to live in the 1800s, apparently.
I'm going to get one of those. They used to have those muskets. What is it? 10 steps. And we're going to fight. Oh, you don't like my business? We're going to have a duel to the death. We're going to meet. It was in St. John's Square somewhere.
I'll meet you at the St. John's County Fairgrounds, 4:30 sharp. Bring your cell phones.
You crossed the wrong line today. I have seen starving dogs with more honor than you. Keep your hand away from that smartphone, or I will leave you ungodly Google review and ask for manager. The Undertaker is waiting. Make peace with your maker. Your miserable time is finally up now.
So I had a bad review. If you're clicking on this, you're probably wondering, why did I get a 1-star review? Well, I'm Dr. Aguiar. This is Dr. Johns. We're with Heal Mobile Vets. And we're going to read the review. Dr. Johns hasn't read it. And we're going to analyze it. I'm going to give you my side of the story because
I'm excited for this. I have no idea what's about to happen.
So before I give you the review, let's give him a random name.
Random name. All right, an annoying name. I can think of a female annoying name. Karen. How about Kevin?
I'm Kevin, and I call people rude when I don't get my way. I am entitled and insecure, and if I don't get my way, I give bad. Google reviews and talk to the manager.
Let's call him Kevin.
Kevin.
Okay, so
all right, this is Kevin.
This was his review.
Called answering service to have the vet come to the house to trim nails because I can't get the cat in a cat carrier, and the vet contacts me saying that is something we can't handle. ... Rude and disrespectful owner, as well as answering service employees. Highly recommend using someone else. Interesting. That was 39 weeks ago.
So this came in when I was doing surgery. I was working at Flagler Humane Society, and when you're mobile, you're usually working or driving. You can't get the call. So from the communication, there's some things that I deducted right away. The animal is elderly. The animal has probably impaled nails, and the animal can't get in a carrier. What he's saying is the animal's aggressive, right?
Mean cat.
So that day, I was not able to go and do this house call. I texted him and told him I could be there on Saturday. He replied that I was garbage. That's what that man replied. So, unfortunately, professionals can't say what they really think. I had some things to say to that guy, but I didn't. I told him, good luck with your cat. And that was it.
Peace out.
But, Dr. Johns, what we can deduct from this information is, first of all, I have to go to this house call with a technician, because Kevin isn't going to hold that cat for me.
Nope.
He's afraid of his cat. Second of all, it's an elderly cat. That cat probably has either thyroid disease or kidney disease.
Some underlying condition, is there's probably a reason.
So I'm going to go there, probably sedate that cat. A lot of things could happen once you sedate a cat that you don't know the health status.
On a Saturday afternoon that you're not going back to the house.
Right? The third thing is, he was out of my area. I'm in St. John's. He's in Clay County. That's 2 hours away. And if the Buckman,
Oh, Lord.
if there's some, there's always a crash there.
You're
That's
gonna be
over 3 hours
Yeah.
for me to cut some cat's nails. So I told him, go to a clinic. He said I was rude. What are your thoughts about this?
A, I think it's ridiculous. And B, I think that this guy, did not take proper care of the cat, waited until last minute with procrastination, realized the urgent situation that he may or may not have been in. Let's be real. How urgent is it? We don't really know. It could be really severe. It could be that he's scratching him up and just wants his nails trimmed. And he basically put himself first above anybody else. Didn't think about the situation of anything. Doesn't have a primary vet that he goes to. And pretty much just, I think, feels guilty himself for what the cat is going through, thinking I should have helped my cat sooner, and he's taking it out on somebody else who literally was as professional as it could be, offering him a different time to go meet him. And yet, because it wasn't on his time, his schedule, it was not good enough, and therefore someone else's garbage to make himself feel better. That's just my opinion.
And that's what happened.
Finally, here's some top take-home points from our discussion today. For me, it's really staying positive. Think of those positive things that happen for you veterinarians every day and how many of those outweigh the negatives. And please, utilize each other, have each other's backs. And if your state or city or whatever allows it, utilize your mental health resources. For those in Florida, the FVMA gives you 3 to 4 sessions, I believe 3, maybe 4 sessions of mental health counseling per year for free. So please utilize those if you're ever having feelings of doubt or self-harm or anything like that. We're here for you.
My recommendation is, don't be afraid of the Kevins and the Karens. You can never please these people.
Nope.
I think you should communicate, tell people what you could offer, what you can't. And sometimes when people don't get what they want, they call you rude. No, I wasn't rude. If you're not in my area and it's not in my route, I can't do it. Like just today, some lady called me. I need you to come see this animal on a Wednesday. I was like, I could go on a Tuesday. I need you to come on Wednesday. I was like, no, Tuesday. And then she said that I was rude. And I was like, I'm offering you a day, right? And then I've come to that realization. It's like, I could only offer what I could offer. And if you don't like it, well, there's other places you could go.
Yep.
You don't have to be everything to everybody, because then you're going to burn out. So that's what I think the healthcare professionals should empower themselves and not be in fear. Because, so remember, life is dull. Life is short. Do what makes you happy. And any final thoughts?
Veterinarians, you rock. We're here for you.
See you next time. Spay and neuter.
Vaccinate.
And
Debí tirar más fotos de cuando te tuve. Debí darte más besos y abrazos las veces que pude. Ey, ojalá que los míos nunca se muden.
And speaking of Kevin, I was like, he's very tough online, but in his house, he's afraid of his cat.
Probably.
Life is full of pain.